Good afternoon, everybody. Hello, Linda. How are you doing today? Hello, Stacy. I'm glad you could pop in. Honestly, I don't know where the day goes. And then it's like 1:45 and I'm getting my stuff out, and then I look at the clock and it's like, oh my word, it's 1 o'clock. Honestly. We're doing some jelly plating today, and I feel like Stacy is the queen of jelly plating. She has some great techniques. You're gonna have to do a live one day, Stacy, here. Not doing too bad today. That's good. Hello, Debbie and Glenda. We are finally having a little bit of melting of this ridiculous snowstorm we had here on Tuesday, I guess it was. You love your plates? Oh, good. It's How's New Brunswick weather, Glenda? Hello, Victoria. It's amazing with Jelly Plate how many different backgrounds you can get and how many different styles and colors and all that. Like I know Stacy does a lot with alcohol inks on the Jelly Plate, and it's amazing. And I've never tried the alcohol inks, but I've done ink pads and then the Dina Wakley sprays and a little bit of paint. It's spring like finally. That's so nice. Yes, we are waiting for spring. We had about a foot of snow on Tuesday. So Erica was out and built a snowman yesterday, and I was just getting out for some shoveling. Usually Mike does the shoveling, but I thought I'll get out and just get a little bit of exercise. And a lady from down the street actually was going around the neighborhood and she helped me shovel the whole driveway. It's very sweet. So I took her card last night and dropped it off at her house. It's very sweet. Awesome. You have your jelly plate. Is anybody going to craft along? Hello, Diana. All right. Hello, Kai. Is it Kai or Kay? Hello, Jackie. Thanks. Your guys made a fort. Nice. Well, at least they're busy. Yeah. I tried to convince Amy, who's 15, to get out and make a fort. She didn't think that was a great idea. We might get more this weekend. Julie, don't tell me that. Hi, Jenny. All right, so we're going to do jelly plate stuff. And in case I forget to mention it, I am going to be on the Creative Scrapbooker Facebook page at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. And I'm going to do a live today, another live. We're going to do some Lavinia stuff. So some more mixed media, but not jelly plate. So this is what we're going to use today. We're going to do Dina Wakley Gloss Sprays. I just grabbed some colors that were I'm kind of going for a spring, but with some of that dark mixed in. So we've got lime, magenta, medieval is the black, but it's more like, I guess it is kind of, I don't know if she has a black out in the gloss sprays, but it has a shine to it. It's really actually quite cool, like a silvery black, almost like a blue tone. And then the sky, we're going to use some of the clear gesso on the jelly plate. But if you don't have that, I think that some white acrylic paint or something like that would work, just to give it a base to help it kind of move around nicely and not dry so quick. Hello, Margaret Erica. Double Karla, yeah. I'm like, tell my husband, yeah, it's just a busy day today. Distress Embossing Glaze. So this one is Rustic Wilderness. It really doesn't matter. We're going to use it to emboss and foil. And you guys would have laughed if you had been here, because yesterday I did not know what I was doing. Oh, my pink is leaking a little bit. And I just started kind of pulling stuff out, and I thought, well, I saw Simon Hurley do foiling with stamps with embossing powder. And so I thought, how hard can that be? Hello, Cindy. Well, you do have to kind of play around. So I would say when you do this, because it's a great technique, so definitely try it. I'm using my mini mink, and I had to figure out what setting to put it on, which embossing powder. I had a thicker, clear embossing powder, and it was just too thick, and everything was kind of melting because we're going to foil it. So just play around with it so that you're not frustrated. Do a whole bunch of tests and see what works. So I'll show you what worked for me after numerous attempts, and I was really happy with it. So I think this is kind of, kind of that game changer kind of thing where you figure out how to do something. I don't have one of the machines that does the foiling, which I think are gorgeous, but I don't have one. And I thought this I could live with for now, and use my stamps and be able to foil them. Hello, Carrie. So it really does give you some good options. And even if you do have a foiling machine, this way you can use your stamps and foil them and not just your plates. Thanks, Carrie. And then this is the background. Now with Dina Wakley Sprays, they are kind of, well, they're very cool because they resist each other. So you're going to see how we stencil this and then just lay it down on a jelly plate, and only the open areas pick up the color, which is really cool. And then these are ones I just played with for backgrounds afterwards. So having some extra paper, that's always, a fun thing. I grabbed for this, and I don't think you necessarily have to use it, but I grabbed the Vicky Bouton Foundations paper, and that's what I thought because it's nice and sturdy, and I didn't know how wet I was going to get it. I don't think you'd necessarily have to do it with that one. And I'm just grabbing a few extra pieces of paper here that I forgot to bring, maybe. There's always something you forget to grab. Let's see. My kiddo is raiding my paper stash. So, okay. We've got some extra papers just in case you want to make. I like having some extras just so, you can make those backgrounds with extra paint and you're not wasting anything. Do you guys find that you do that? And sometimes I'll just have some copy paper and use that as well, but I didn't grab that. So, okay. Hello, Jennifer. Let's see if I missed anything. Hey, Tamara. Okay. So we're going to get out our jelly plate here. And we are also, we'll start with this is my spray box, which is just a shoe box. I'm going to grab a little bit of pixie spray. This is a photo play stencil. So I'm just going to give this a spray. And we'll let that sit for a second just to get tacky. And I didn't use it for this for this card, I didn't use the pixie spray, but I felt like because this is a box with some paper towel and it's not quite flat, I thought it would be a little more crisp if I actually had the pixie spray on there to hold it down. So I thought for this one, that's what I'll try. So first we're going to try the medieval spray. Now with the gloss sprays, after you're done spraying, you definitely want to clean your stencil. Whatever this dries on, it's pretty much going to stick on. So you also, it's a good thing to rinse or wipe at least your nozzle. Now, I've had a couple of these that wouldn't spray because I haven't used them in a long time, but what I did was I took them apart, and the only one that I couldn't get going again was this green, which is okay because I still think even you can buy replacement sprayers, but we're going to use this one in a way that you don't need to spray it. But when I do clean them, and I'm just letting you know this because sometimes if I put them away and don't use them for a while, I have to do this. I'll put them in just a bowl of water and soak it. And I will, try not to get this all over me, but you know that I will. Your fuchsia doesn't have a ball in it. I think I have one like that, Stacy. You could probably stick some like a bead or something in it, or if you have a ball bearing. So I stick it in the water. I do some sprays. If it doesn't seem like it's spraying, I pull this little top off, and oftentimes, I can show you, after you spray it and let it soak for a while, there's a little, like a hard piece that's hardened in there, and usually you can just pull it out, and then after you rinse it really nicely, it usually comes back. Most of mine, except for maybe just a few, if they're clogged, will unclog that way. And then you can also pull this part, the little straw, off. Just give it a soak, a really good rinse, and usually it'll come back. But I think there's lots of ways to use them that you don't have to spray them either, so I wouldn't worry too much. I really like the sprays. I think they have lots of great properties, and if all else fails, you can buy the replacement sprayer. So we are going to spray. It is nice to have the spray. So we're going to give that a nice little spray, and that's probably good. And then I'll just wipe that off. If you wanted to be really diligent, I guess you could rinse the sprayer after, you know, take it apart and rinse it, but I have no desire to do that. Okay, so we are going to take that off. Has a lovely sprayed background. We'll set that aside to dry. Now we have this piece here, and this is just some white cardstock, like 110 pound. We're going to put this in here just to soak up that negative image. So isn't that fun? Like this kind of idea. Yeah, no problem, Glenda. Sometimes I just stick a little pin right in the top of the top of the nozzle that comes off, and that little clogged piece comes right off. And you know what? We've got a little bit more. Let's just there. We've got kind of a fun, neat print. And that can just be something we cut up at the end or whatever. It's just got some cool effects on it. And you'll see how the resist works. And then I'm going to you can just rinse this. It comes right off. I have some soapy water. I'm going to stick it in there, and it's okay if it stains. Now, just because we're playing, I'm going to show you one thing, and then we'll do the jelly plate. So you can spray this on, and you can see like my pink isn't spraying perfect, but I'm totally okay with that. I think, you know, you just really have to have fun and not stress with these. So as you spray them on, we can't spray this one. they're going to do a really cool kind of resist each other, and you get almost this galaxy effect. So you can really have fun just spraying them. This one is blackberry. I don't remember if no, I did not rinse this one. And they do lovely splatters. I really like adding splatters to cards and scrapbook pages. And you can lay stuff on the background and just get some really cool effects that you can start to play with. So these ones will then play with these on the jelly plate. Okay, so we've got the jelly plate. And we're going to use a little bit of this clear gesso. If you had some white paint, you could put some white paint down just as a layer. You don't want all that on there. That's just some dried stuff that came off of my bottle. Okay, you don't need a lot. We're just taking a little bit of this out and spreading it over. What do you guys use on the base of your jelly plate? I know some people put hand sanitizer, I've heard. I haven't tried that. Okay, I'm just smoothing it out. Really, it's just kind of that extender, and it helps everything kind of move around the way that you want it. I'm just moving some. Get low, but I didn't realize it wasn't charging earlier. Okay, so hopefully it'll still video okay, because you know when phones get low. All right, so I'm going to spray, and I'm just going to put a piece of paper there so it doesn't spray all over. So we've got the pink, we've got the blue, and then I'm just wiping it each time. Is the video okay for you guys? You don't need to really, that's right. You can, once you're done, you can put a layer of paint, and then what do you do, Stacy? Do you actually lay a piece of paper and let it kind of dry and then pull it up and it pulls things up? So I'm putting a little bit of a base down of my paint, and then I think what I'm going to do is do a little bit more color. I need to do something with this because it's splatting all over me, but that's okay. Okay, and then we're going to take this lime green. I really like this green. It's a little fuzzy. I'm so sorry. It's probably because my battery is low. It's plugged in now. I don't think it's my internet. Okay, so we've got our paints all on there. Now let's take this piece that we first sprayed, and it's pretty much dry actually. And I've marked a B for the back of the Vicki Boutin Foundations paper because on the front it has almost like a gessoed effect. and your mixed media will move around a lot nicer if you use the front. Now look, isn't that cool? So the black part resisted, and then you get all those pieces of color, and then the black has a little bit of, you know, shininess to it, and you get this the gloss effect, that shiny paint effect. Stacy, let's see here, what did you say? You burr a thin layer of paint and place the paper on when it's wet and smooth over it. Okay, yeah, neat. Thanks. Yeah, I like that effect. So that's going to be the back of our card, but we still have a little bit of, you know, fun stuff here. So I think we still have enough of that clear gesso on the background, so we can add a few different colors. We could do some blue and green. Of course, if you're mixing stuff, you want to pay attention, and you can pour these. They're really, really liquidy, so you just want to go very carefully. And I would suggest, from past experience, that you don't want to leave these on your desk uncovered, because it's like Murphy's Law, and it will probably tip over. You will probably knock it over. I think, Tamara, was it your white that you had an incident with? And then let's do a few of the splatters over top. And you could sit here and just play all day with this and make backgrounds. And I think that's the fun thing about this is, you know, that you can do a whole bunch of different things, have a bunch of different backgrounds, and then you can come back. So we could go ahead and use this one, the one with the negative print. Then you're going to have all kinds of backgrounds that you can then take and make a card. And I think because you have so much going on, a brand new bottle, yikes, that you only need a simple, you know, sentiment or image on the front. So then there you have the green in the background, and you still have those pops of color. And you can take ink over this. So if you have ink that is like archival ink, and it's not going to rub off because this is paint. So if you use distress ink is going to just wipe off of it. But if you use something that's a permanent ink, then you can go over and add some stamping, and you can sponge the edges and get some really cool effects. And it's kind of getting a little bit brownish here, but you know what, we're going to go in with, also because it's paint and it is going to dry together. If you have something on top of each other, it's going to stick. So just make sure, if you're laying out your pieces, that you're laying them out so that they have time to dry. Otherwise they'll stick together. So let's do a little bit of this pink. You know what, I almost think we need a little bit more of this gesso, and we have these partially done, so we may as well, you know what, our paints are out, our plate is out. And if you make a piece that you absolutely hate, then you can take it, and if you liked this piece and you die cut an image or word out of it, I bet that you'll see it in a different light. Or if you sprayed it again and added some more color, and if you absolutely hate it in the end, just throw it in the garbage, because it's just a piece of paper, and if you had fun doing it, then that's the point. So don't be scared to just experiment. Okay, we're gonna a little bit of that pink there, and there's lots like I've used this pink a lot and it's still half full. And then afterwards on this glass mat, you can just take the Tim Holtz tool, that scrapey tool, and everything will just come off of it. All right, that's kind of nice. We've got, you know, you can go from here and do lots of stuff. Like I have those things that can make squiggly marks. There's so many different gel plate ideas and videos online that if you're looking for inspiration, you just need to check YouTube. See, isn't that pretty? So you've got the paint in the background, and you could then layer on another color and go back in, but we got three. There's even a little bit of paint left on this. Let's see if we can dip this in and just, I'm really just experimenting. We got 4 backgrounds and we could keep going. So lots of fun. And for the people who do jelly plate stuff, how do you store your things? What I'm thinking, I store mine in a bag, so it's not a great storage option. So I was thinking though, I saw a video and whoever was storing their stuff had them stored by color, or like this would go with purple, or I don't know what color this would go with, blue maybe, and pink, and they kind of had them stored like that, which I thought was a nice option because I often craft according to color. So if I knew that I wanted like a blue background, I could grab this. I don't know. Do you guys have any suggestions? You die cut hearts or something? Yeah. Hi, Irene. Learning through the creative process. Yes. Just have fun with it. Don't stress over it. Shouldn't be stressful. And even if you just go into it thinking, I'm just going to make some backgrounds and have fun with it and learn what I like that works. So you don't have to wipe your stuff off. I will probably rinse that off because I don't need it completely clean, but you know, I don't know if I will leave it like that. Though I do appreciate the look of all that kind of that end pull with everything that comes up. So here we have our background. You have an A2 bin where you put your card bases. Oh, good. Yours is still in the package. You need to try it. Is that the jelly plate or the stencil? This stencil is from Photoplay. I don't remember what the name of it is, but it is a Photoplay stencil. I don't think we have it any longer in the shop, but it was in there for a while. So now we're going to try this. We're going to cross our fingers that it's going to work today. I think it's going to work. I'm just crossing my fingers because I didn't cut out an extra piece of cardboard or paper, cardstock. So here is my little oval that I'm going to do. And this is one of the mini spring messages, I think it's called, Magic Spring Messages from Lawn Fawn. So we're going to put that in the spot. I was showing my husband how this works because he's like, what are you doing? And I was showing him the embossing. He's like, oh, that's cool. And then I had the mink and he's like, oh, that's really cool. What I would suggest with this is to definitely use the powder bag because you don't want your foil sticking to any stray pieces of embossing powder. So we're going to get out our foil. So you can use any of the DecoFoil or the foils that work with laminators. That's the kind of foil that you're looking for. And in these DecoFoil packages, there's 5 sheets, and the sheets are 6 by 12. So you actually get a lot of foil in here. And I'm just going to cut a piece that's going to fit over my image. I'm guessing, so we'll see how close my guess is. Yeah, that looks right. So we've got that. So this is different foil than you'd use in the, or on the, with the foiling machines. And they have these, there's tons of colors. So there's like, I know there's a ton of colors in the shop, and you may have seen them in the packages as well that are like 6 by 6, something like that. We've got our embossing powder. So what I found with the embossing powder was that the embossing glaze is really nice and fine, and it worked really well to get a really nice stamped image that was embossed, and then to have something, because you don't want a thick embossing powder, otherwise the embossing powder melts when you're putting it through the machine and then it spreads out. So if you use a thicker embossing powder, you're going to find that it spreads out and the foil sticks to everywhere that the embossing powder is. And this seems to be thin enough or fine enough that you don't get that spreading. I also found that I put my laminator, I have the mini Mink, and I put that on level 2. So it's lower, a little bit lower than I would do the toner sheets. And I did it upside down, and I don't know whether that had anything to do with it. Okay, so we're just going to put the Versamark on, the sticky ink that's going to hold on our embossing powder. And that looks pretty good. It doesn't look like we got it much for stray powders on there. And I thought with the green, if my foil didn't stick to everything, it would still have a green background, although it seemed to really stick. So we'll see. It's live, you guys, so anything could happen, right? Okay, and I'm just going to move this out of the way. I am really liking this waffle flower mat. I'm not sure if the small one is still in the shop. The large one is in now, and there might still be a couple of the small one left. But it's heat resistant too, so it kind of even grips your paper when you're heating it. So we're just going to emboss our image. And you don't need to over emboss, just emboss until it's, you can need one more little bit right here. Until it's shiny, so you've got this really nice image. And I do like the all the glazes for embossing with. You can do some really neat techniques with them, but you can see how nicely that really fine embossing powder worked. So that doesn't take long to, you want to give it a second. You don't want to stick your foil on while it's hot. I'm going to turn this mink. You just bought a mink or a stencil mat. Yeah, the mats. I'm guessing you just bought the mat, Irene. You'll like it. Oh, both sizes are in. Hello, Carrie. So we're going to turn that on number 2. I need to get a new one of these carrier sheets because I don't know what happened. Everything, when you're crafting and everything's just going well, and then all of a sudden you look down and it's like, oh my gosh, what just happened? So if you guys think that only happens to you, it always happens to me. So it's still working, but I do need another one. This is the carrier sheet. It's like a plastic, but if you didn't have this, you can just use one of the sheets that sometimes comes in the toner or in the foils or the toner fronts from ThermoWeb, or you can use some parchment paper. So I tried this facing down, and I've tried it so much, I honestly can't remember if I ran it through twice or not. So we're just going to see. And I also have this, live for Creative Scrapbooker at 6. So I'm in my mind, I'm kind of running through like, okay, what did I do for that one versus this one? Even though they're totally different. Okay, we're going to try and pull it up, and if it looks like it needs a little bit more, we'll put it back in. And see, this one, it's a little bit hot. So you can see, I don't know why this is different. I have no idea. You can see that you really need to play with it. So let's try. And I kind of wondered if something like this would happen because we're live. So this one, really nice and crisp. And this one, not so crisp. It's okay, like you're using a tiny bit of foil. We're gonna try it one more time and see if we can get it to work. But I almost had a feeling that I should have cut out a few of those ovals because sometimes it happens. And I don't. Now I could have used, it may be that I used a different paper. This is a thinner paper than the other one, so that could be. So I think when you find out what you've actually done, write it down. You've got the large one, Stacy. I really like it, and I think it works so great for so many things that I think having the large one would actually be really nice. Just gonna give this a wipe off. So, thanks guys for sticking with me, and this is real life crafting, and sometimes it doesn't always work out exactly as we want it to. Oh, I want to powder here, not on my stamp. Okay, now we're going to try it again. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to do 2. So that we have 2 done. Because I think then it's easier. And I tell you, Simon Hurley did this and it looked really super easy. So I don't know if I need to go back and watch that video or what. But this is a thicker paper, so we might even get a different result. And my kids do shrink plastic, and so often they'll, I'm sure you're wondering what's on that paper. Often they'll print images off from the computer, and then they'll trace it on the shrink paper. So I also realized that I did not use the powder bag on all of the paper. Maybe place it up this time. Yeah. You use 110 and it works. Okay. We'll place it up and we'll see what happens. Hello, Celine. And this melts pretty quickly. Okay, so let's cut this. This is going to be our sample one. And then we've got our sheet. Okay, so our machine is still on. We're going to place it right through and let's see what happens. Hello, Rhonda. So for anybody just coming in, we made this background with the jelly plate and Dina Wakley sprays and a stencil. And we are attempting to foil stamps. Any embossing powder, I think the key is to have something that's really thin. So yes, it could be anything, but like a really fine, because what happens is as soon as the powder melts, it spreads out. So if it's thick at all, then it's going to spread out and the foil will stick to whatever spread out. Okay, that's way better. Look at that. So much better. It still didn't stick to everything. So I feel like we could have put it in and back again because it's the thicker paper. And you know what? We have this here. So why don't we just try it? Because I think it's not going to really fit on my card. So I'll probably have to do another one after anyways. But let's just try it. But that much better. So you can see this is the thicker paper. This is 110. And that was, yeah, this I could live with. You can see it didn't foil completely. So we're going to stick this, and I think this is where it's that testing phase where it's like, okay, so if I wanted to stick more, should I could have tried it just upside down. But we'll do this twice, see how that does. If it spreads out, then we know, you know, maybe just once upside down. This cardstock is, oh my goodness, Debbie. I think that it's like the Spring Hill Amazon stuff. I had a bunch of it. That was like 110 pound. I believe that's what it is. Cheap white cardstock. So once you, I think once you figure out I think that's about the same. Maybe this foiled a little bit more, but I'm happy with that. Like, I think that you get some nice foiling. You still have the color in the background. If you had a lighter embossing powder, then it might not show in a few of those areas. Accent paper works too. But yeah, I'm happy with that. However, it's not going to fit on my little thing. So I will redo one after to do the sample. But what we're going to do right now is put the rest of it together and then just switch this off. The mink does heat up really nice and quick. And I'm going to play around with that even more after then, I think, and then write down exactly what temperature and what paper, and then at least when you want to do that, you have it all ready. You don't have to go through and figure out exactly what works. I think even on the foiling machines, some people, say, well, they need a shim or they need to do, something a little bit different. And it's just that depending on whatever machine you have and whatever you are creating, you're figuring out what works. So here's our background. I like how this turned out. Will I post that later? Yes, I will, Debbie. And I'll figure out exactly which paper I grabbed that from. Okay, and then, so what I'll do after is I will do one that actually fits on the front here, but what we would have, I guess I could have done the back side, but I think this paper was just too thin and that it was just too hot. And then put that on with foam, with some foam tape on the top. And then what I did was to take these Dream Drops. So this one here is the lemon, and there's a whole bunch of different colors. You have a love-hate relationship with your foiling machine. Yeah. It's frustrating if, something's not working. I agree. So if you can take those steps to know exactly what works, that sure makes it a lot easier. And these are iridescent, so they change color a little bit depending on whether they're on white or light or dark cardstock. So we'll put these little dots on, and then you can see they kind of dried almost with a, well, they dry kind of with a pearly effect, but you can see when they dried, because they were on the black, they're almost a little bit of a different color. But that just kind of adds a little bit of shimmer to that. And then you go ahead and put on your sentiment on the front, and that is it. But yes, I will post exactly what I end up using to make it look great. And I wish that I had, when I look at these really closely, I think they're really, really close. And if I can just remember what paper I used, I think I actually might know. Like, I think this might have been the Nina that I stamp on. So I'm going to play with that after, but I'll let you know. Dream Drops, I agree. They're so fun, and there's so many different colors, and you can get some really great effects. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, everybody, for stopping in, and thanks for your support. Thanks, Rhonda. Hope you guys have a great week. Next week, I won't be here, but Rosie is going to be here. I have to do a science camp with some kids, so I will be doing that, but Rosie is going to be doing the live, so very excited for that. Thanks, Margaret Erica. Hope you guys have a great weekend. If you are around this evening at 6 o'clock Mountain Time and you want to pop over to the Creative Scrapbooker Facebook page, I will be live there doing some Lavinia stamp stuff. Thanks, Victoria. And thanks, Jennifer. It is, yeah, it's not outside. No, it's inside. So, yeah, have a great week, guys. Thanks so much. And if you haven't signed up for the newsletter, we've been sending out the newsletter every day or every week on Mondays. And that's going to have links to anything that's going on, to the videos, to different products that are new in the shop. So you can see that by going to the website and signing up at the beginning. You'll be able to put your name in there for the newsletter. So anyway, thanks, guys. I will talk to you later. It's always a pleasure having you here when I'm crafting. Bye-bye.